Kanan's development following the events on Malachor demonstrates a measurable shift in his decision-making, interpretive abilities, and application of Jedi principles. Prior to his injury, Kanan's actions frequently relied on conventional sensory information and habitual combat training that he retained from his years as Caleb Dume. His reliance on sight-based assessment is observable in episodes where he performs rapid threat evaluations, anticipates movement visually, and positions himself according to standard tactical practices. After the duel with Maul, these patterns undergo a structural change that marks the beginning of his transformation. The loss of vision removed Kanan's dependence on sensory observation and forced him to adopt a method of perception more consistent with Jedi teachings. Canonical Jedi instruction emphasizes non-attachment to physical senses and encourages reliance on the Force for awareness and clarity. Kanan had previously struggled with this principle, as seen in his difficulty maintaining focus during training sessions with Ezra. After his injury, however, his interactions show increased attentiveness to environmental intention rather than physical cues. Episodes following Malachor present numerous examples in which Kanan senses emotional states or incoming danger without visual confirmation. Blindness also functioned as a corrective to Kanan's earlier reactive tendencies. Before Malachor, he frequently positioned himself as a frontline combatant, often advancing without broader strategic consideration. His engagements during missions on Lothal and Selos illustrate a pattern of prioritizing immediate response over long-term assessment. Post-Malachor, Kanan adopts a more deliberative posture. He evaluates risks with greater restraint and shifts from impulsive action to coordinated planning. This change can be traced directly to the necessity of relying on internal perception rather than external stimuli. Kanan's training under the Bendu further demonstrates how blindness altered his understanding of Jedi principles. The Bendu's instruction focused on balance, internal stability, and the distinction between sensory limitation and perceptual clarity. Kanan's conversations with the Bendu show that he confronts his own fear more directly than before, acknowledging it rather than suppressing it. This contrasts with earlier moments in the series where he avoids discussing his personal uncertainty with Ezra or the Ghost Crew. By integrating the Bendu's teachings, Kanan exhibits signs of cognitive recalibration that align with Jedi doctrine on emotional regulation. The shift in Kanan's behavior is also evident in his mentorship of Ezra. Prior to losing his sight, Kanan often relied on assertive correction, issuing directives rooted in conventional training models. After his injury, his approach becomes more interpretive and patient. He listens more frequently, allows Ezra greater autonomy in decision-making, and frames lessons around understanding rather than compliance. This shift corresponds with observable improvements in Ezra's judgment during missions, indicating that Kanan's altered method of instruction produced measurable outcomes. Kanan's interactions with the Ghost Crew reveal additional changes in his leadership style. Before Malachor, he often deferred to Hera for overall strategic direction and limited his guidance to immediate combat-related concerns. Following his injury, he becomes a more consistent contributor to long-term planning, offering insights that draw from force-based perception rather than tactical instinct. His contributions during missions involving reconnaissance, negotiation, and evasion show increased analytical depth and reduced reliance on sensory confirmation. Combat scenes after Malachor further demonstrate the transformation. Kanan's ability to deflect blaster fire, navigate complex environments, and anticipate movement without visual input illustrates his transition toward force-based observation. Comparative analysis of pre-Malachor and post-Malachor engagements shows a clear reduction in physical hesitation and an increase in predictive accuracy. These changes are consistent with Jedi accounts describing insight that emerges when physical senses no longer dominate perception. Kanan's psychological progression also aligns with observable behavior. Before Malachor, he often displayed signs of internal conflict when referencing his past as Caleb Dume, particularly during moments involving the Inquisitors or references to Order 66. After losing his sight, he appears to detach from that identity and adopt a more stable sense of self. His dialogue becomes more measured, his tone more consistent, and his decisions more aligned with long-term principles rather than short-term reactions. Kanan's blindness also strengthened his situational awareness. Episodes show him identifying threats outside his physical proximity, sensing shifts in intention from adversaries, and interpreting environments with precision, despite having no visual data. This development aligns with the Jedi concept of extending awareness beyond sensory limitation and supports the conclusion that blindness enhanced, rather than reduced, his functional capability. The transformation affected his relationship with Hera as well. Before Malachor, Kanan often withheld information about his doubts or insecurities, which limited their strategic coordination. After his injury, he communicates more transparently about his limitations and experiences, allowing Hera to adjust mission plans accordingly. This improved coordination is particularly evident during operations requiring high-risk infiltration or precise timing. Kanan's presence within the rebellion also changes. Initially, he participated as a combat asset with limited interest in ideological structure. After losing his sight, he begins to articulate strategic necessity, moral considerations, and risks associated with broader conflict. His perspectives during discussions with commanders show increased attention to the implications of each mission beyond immediate objectives. His relationship with the Force receives a structural recalibration as well. Earlier in the series, Kanan frequently expresses frustration with meditation and struggles to maintain extended focus. After Malachor, scenes depict consistent engagement with meditative practices and prolonged states of concentration. These behaviors align with his improved ability to interpret Force-related guidance with accuracy. The cumulative evidence demonstrates that blindness removed obstacles that obstructed Kanan's adherence to Jedi doctrine. By losing reliance on sight, he was compelled to engage with the Force in a manner that previous training had not achieved. His growth was not symbolic. It was observable across combat proficiency, emotional stability, instructional method, leadership capacity, and interpretive accuracy. Kanan's blindness did not merely alter his behavior, it restructured his identity as a Jedi. The post-Malachor version of Kanan functions as a practitioner whose actions align consistently with Jedi philosophy, whose perception exceeds sensory limitation, and whose guidance elevates those around him. The evidence shows that blindness produced a qualitative improvement in his abilities and facilitated his transition into a fully realized Jedi Knight. Kanan's post-Malachor development illustrates a shift from tactical dependence on eyesight toward principles more closely aligned with Jedi doctrine. This shift produced measurable effects not only on his personal growth, but also on the operational efficiency of the Ghost Crew and the broader rebel cells he interacted with. Blindness forced Kanan to reconstruct his cognitive framework, altering his perception, leadership style, instructional methods, and role within the rebellion. The clearest change appears in Kanan's decision-making during missions. Before Malachor, Kanan frequently engaged threats directly, relying on visual tracking and conventional lightsaber technique. After losing his sight, he adopted a model of situational awareness based on Force attunement rather than sensory observation. This is evident in episodes where Kanan anticipates ambushes, identifies structural risks, or responds to concealed threats without visual indicators. Such behavior demonstrates a transition from sensory reaction to predictive interpretation. Kanan's improved interpretive ability influenced his leadership within the Ghost Crew. Earlier seasons show Kanan depending heavily on Hera for long-term planning and mission structuring, while he focused primarily on immediate battlefield tactics. After Malachor, he begins contributing strategically, offering assessments grounded in Force perception. His recommendations during reconnaissance missions, diplomatic encounters, and evasive operations demonstrate greater analytical depth and reduced reliance on reactive behavior. Blindness also changed the dynamic between Kanan and Ezra. Before his injury, Kanan's instruction often relied on authoritative correction, direct physical demonstration, and reinforcement of technique. Following Malachor, he adopts an approach centered on perceptual development and internal stability. This results in training sequences where Kanan emphasizes environmental awareness, emotional interpretation, and cognitive grounding rather than physical precision. Ezra's subsequent improvements in restraint and judgment during critical missions illustrate the effectiveness of this revised mentorship model. Interactions with Hera further highlight alterations in Kanan's behavioral framework. In earlier episodes, Kanan rarely openly acknowledged personal uncertainty, which occasionally hindered mission coordination. After his injury, he communicates his limitations directly, allowing Hera to adjust operational planning. This increased transparency enhances team cohesion and reduces operational risk, indicating that blindness indirectly strengthened Kanan's collaborative function. Kanan's force-based awareness manifests consistently in his combat proficiency. Whether deflecting blaster fire without visual reference or navigating obstacles during high-risk engagements, Kanan demonstrates improved reaction timing and predictive accuracy. A comparative analysis of pre- and post-Malachor encounters indicates a reduction in unnecessary movement and an increase in precise, controlled responses. Such evidence suggests that blindness facilitated greater reliance on force-based intuition rather than conventional martial training. In addition to technical improvements, Kanan's philosophical development becomes more apparent. After Malachor, he aligns more closely with Jedi principles concerning fear, balance, and non-attachment. His conversations with the Bendu demonstrate an increased capacity for introspection and an acceptance of emotional states he previously avoided discussing. This philosophical grounding contributes directly to his improved decision-making in subsequent missions. Kanan's integration into the larger rebellion also shifts as a result of his altered perception. Initially, he participated primarily as a combat asset with limited engagement in strategic or ideological discourse. Post-injury, Kanan engages more actively in discussions involving risk assessment, ethical considerations, and long-term objectives. His counsel during interactions with rebel commanders illustrates an expanded role, not as a soldier, but as a strategic advisor guided by force perception rather than military hierarchy. His blindness also recalibrates his responses to high-pressure scenarios. Scenes involving infiltration, rapid extraction, or aerial pursuit reveal decreased hesitation and increased reliance on non-visual detection. Kanan's calm behavior during such moments contrasts with earlier seasons, where uncertain conditions sometimes produced visible strain. This behavioral stability suggests improved cognitive regulation consistent with advanced Jedi training. Kanan's interactions with adversaries also reflect his transformation. Before Malachor, he often responded to threats with immediate engagement, motivated partly by residual trauma from his past. After losing his sight, confrontations demonstrate increased restraint, as he prioritizes interpretation of intent over immediate combat. This shift indicates greater alignment with Jedi conflict resolution practices. In terms of interpersonal influence, Kanan's post-injury presence stabilizes the Ghost crew. Hera's leadership benefits from his expanded advisory role. Ezra gains clearer instructional guidance. Sabine receives more balanced support during her Mandalorian arc, and Zeb responds to Kanan's grounded demeanor with increased discipline. These patterns illustrate how blindness strengthened Kanan's position as a unifying force within the group. Kanan's development also impacts the crew's operational outcomes. Missions requiring stealth, coordination, or rapid adaptation demonstrate increased cohesion, with Kanan providing direction rooted in force perception rather than sight. His ability to identify threats early and sense shifts in adversarial intent allows the crew to avoid ambushes, anticipate tactical shifts, and adapt to environmental hazards. Such results support the conclusion that blindness enhanced his functional effectiveness. Kanan's philosophical growth becomes particularly evident through his changing views on identity. Earlier episodes reveal unresolved tension between Caleb Dume, the survivor of Order 66, and Kanan Jarrus, the self-made warrior. After Malachor, this conflict diminishes. Kanan's speech patterns, posture, and decision-making show increased consistency, suggesting that the loss of sight facilitated a unified sense of self. This stability likely contributed to his improved leadership and instructional clarity. The evolution of Kanan's relationship with the Force is central to understanding the significance of his blindness. Prior to the injury, he demonstrated intermittent difficulty with meditation and sustained focus, often interrupting sessions with Ezra due to external distraction or internal conflict. Afterward, he engages in longer periods of uninterrupted meditation, displays precise sensitivity to distant disturbances, and adheres more consistently to force-based decision-making. These behaviors suggest that blindness served as a catalyst for authentic mastery of force principles. Kanans' transformation demonstrates how sensory loss can restructure cognitive priorities, resulting in improved clarity, leadership, and force attunement. His behavior, decisions, and instructional methods following Malachor align more closely with those of a traditionally trained Jedi than anything he exhibited while sighted. The evidence shows that blindness enabled Kanan to reconstruct his identity, refine his perception, and elevate his contributions to both the Ghost Crew and the Rebellion.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. My main channel is Critical Analysis Hub, where I post Star Wars content about the movies. My secondary channel is Critical Analysis Hub Plus, where I focus on the shows of Star Wars. And my third channel is Critical Analysis Hub XP, where I post comic books. Be sure to take a moment and check them out. Thanks, and may the Force be with you.